concentrate more on what he's got planned. This week, home care checklist comes to mind. If you're investigating home health care for a loved one, it's a tough job here to know where to start here. And today we'll share a simple set of questions from AARP that can get you pointed in the right direction. And we've also got Loving Through Caregiving. We'd love to hear from you, caregivers, about this one if you're a caregiver. Do you truly love the work? I'm smiling. The honest answer might be no, but you can learn a lot about love by being a caregiver. Absolutely. We'll explain. Patients, by the way, getting fed up, waiting weeks for a 10-minute appointment with their doctor. Concierge medicine. That's why many are turning to a different type of medical practice. Right away, Rajiv wants to get involved here right now with creating a care plan and talk about another expert joining us. Bringing this one back from last week, by the way. He was so excited. Rajiv, welcome to the show. Let's get started.
Hey, let's get started. You know, did you know, Mark, that at any one given time in America, there are about 12 to 15 million households that are dealing with somebody in that house who are not able to manage their own lives independently.
And who trains
them?
them?
12 to 15 million. Maybe you're one of them. And today's show, I really want to just focus and dedicate to the people who are dealing with these issues. It's not an easy one. Been there, done that. I saw my father-in-law have Alzheimer's, end up in the nursing home, which really is what inspired me to do what I do. So I know firsthand as to how difficult this journey is. And, once a month, once every month and a half, we have a special guest, Joe Hillier from Home Watch Caregivers, come in. So let's bring him on the line, and then let's start talking about this. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thank you, Rajiv.
Hey, Joe, so we have, great story. If you go to AgingOptions.com, if you go to LifePointLaw.com, under the blog section, there are 4 stories that we have, and they really are all a salute to the people who are having to take care of their aging loved ones. Many of them are doing it at home. Many of them have their loved ones in care facilities because living at home was not easy and was not easy to do that. So let's start with the second story we have up there. The second story talks about what is it, why creating a long-term care plan is an important issue. Now, mind you, the people that we are talking about today, the 12 to 15 million who are needing help now, probably missed that road, right? And so they're in a different thing. So let me have you react to the story about creating a long-term care plan. Why is that important? What really is it that people need to do when they're thinking about creating a long-term care plan? Joe?
Well, the one thing I want to tell everybody is, as you plan for, how you want things to go as you get older and everything, you always hear if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And you heard that when you're doing your financial plan, when you were doing your medical, and so on and so forth. But it's the same thing that plays with your care management. And when we get over 65, 70% of us are going to need help with long-term care, as we grow older. And we have to accept it. What is that going to look like? Are we going to age at home? Are we going to age in a facility? Are we going to go to a group home? But regardless of what our choice is, we have to have a plan, and we have to be thinking about that. If we're in our 50s and thinking about it, that's wonderful. But at least when we get into our 60s and beyond, we have to be thinking about this, the planning, the cost, and what that's going to look like. And, one thing I always tell folks when they ask me these questions is, just do a short exercise. Think about if you took a fall, you had to have a surgery or something, it was going to, give you about, 3 months worth of being down. 3 months of being the disability is going to slow you down for 3 months. What's that going to look like? Who's going to help you? Who's going to take care of you? Is it your spouse? Is it your family? Well, there's limits to what they can all do. What kind of help are you going to need? What if it's something where you're big person, you need a couple of people sometimes maybe to help you get up and down? What's that look like? And just being able to do like a 2 or 3 month plan for what it would look like if you had to have care in the home or you had to be somewhere, but specifically care in the home. What's that going to cost? Who's going to do it? How's it going to get done? And that's kind of a short-term model for what expect as you go into years down the road. Maybe when you need more help, more care. You need to be one of those 7% of people over the age of 65 that will need some long-term care.
Absolutely,
and that short-term exercise is the way to do it.
Right, and this is the time really, Mark, to give out our phone numbers because this show really is about you. If you happen to be one of the few people who are taking care of people, what are your questions? Chances are you're thinking about if you're the person dealing with illness and you're thinking, where am I going to go? Who will take care of me? Will I go broke in the process? But if you're the family member who's dealing with I really want to talk to you a little bit. So give us a call. Mark,
You
what's
bet.
the number?
And boy, if there's a time to call, you're having Joe Hillier here and Rajiv Nagaich. You got two powerhouses here. Here's the phone number, 206-421-1000. Call in anytime. Interrupt these guys. They love the questions and answers. That's why they have the show. 206-421-1000. Stand by. We got more retirement seminars coming up, already planned for August. Again, the number, 206-421-1000. All about retirement planning, and things you need to know. Don't you dare go away.
Thanks for listening to Aging Options on News Radio 97.7 FM and AM 1000. Learn more by going to AgingOptions.com for blogs, videos, and the Aging Options portal. Visit AgingOptions.com for blogs, videos, and the portal.
That's 2 strikes, so this is going to be a close one. The game depends on this next pitch.
You know, if you're retired, you're playing a retirement game with 2 strikes. Strike 1 is when you retire and give up your paycheck. Studies show that strike 2 is the inflation that has taken a bite out of that fixed income that retirees like you are living with. Strike 3 could be an illness for which there is no coverage under Medicare unless you have a safe harbor trust. Hi, it's Mark Christopher. If you have a safe harbor trust, you will hit the home run. If not, you likely will strike out. Don't stand on home plate without a safe harbor trust. Crafted by attorney Rajiv Nagaich with LifePoint Law. Join Rajiv at his next free workshop August 1st in Bellevue, August 3rd in Federal Way, or how about August 6th in Puyallup? Register for Rajiv's free in-person workshops at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com. Or call 253-838-3454. 253-838-3454. Northwest News Radio. Traffic and weather here every 10 minutes on the 4s here, and then back to Aging Options momentarily. Hang on here. High Performance Homes Traffic Center. John Nelson with a quick update for you.
Yeah, I was clicking through my cameras and I stumbled upon a collision that's blocking the right lane, southbound I-5, 272nd Street. Looks like some fire and aid units on scene there too, so you just want to avoid that area or at least get over to the left and get around that. Ongoing road work in Access Road or I-5 northbound at the Boeing Access Road. I'm John Nelson, Northwest News Radio Traffic.
Ferries will be busy today. 3 ferries, by the way, to get you over to Vashon there for the Strawberry Festival alone. Weather-wise, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. The sun shines. Temperatures will be low to mid-80s here for the North Sound and Central Sound, closer to 90 in the South Sound. Cooling off tomorrow, cloudy. Slight chance of showers, especially foothills in the morning, and then it'll be 81 and a nice afternoon. Life goes by so quick. Suddenly you're out of high school. What path do you go? Find a job, get a career, family time, have some kids. All of a sudden, what do you mean I got to start planning about retirement? Thank goodness you wandered upon the show here called Aging Options with your host, Rajiv Nagaich. And what a time to be sitting here as we talk about creating a care plan. We got Joe Hillier, Home Watch Caregivers, helping out as well. Phone number real quick. You're going to want it. 206-421-1000 if you have questions. Rajiv.
Here we go. And before we left, before we went to the break, we were talking about why do we need to create a long-term care. And so, Joe, when it comes down to long-term care, really, as this article points out, the first thing you want to do is not be in denial. Know that you're going to grow old. And Mark, as you were saying, we were just getting a job and raising babies, and then we are being told that we need to work on our retirement plan. Well, that would be okay if that's where it ended. And then what about now we are in retirement having to use that plan. And now we have to test to see whether the planning will work out for us or not. And that's really where the rubber meets the road, because we will not know whether any of the planning efforts we do over our lifetime are going to work out exactly with the way that we want to work out till we actually start living our retirement years, right? And Joe, you were talking about 70% of people will need long-term care. And part of the issue with long-term care is that 70% of people will need long-term care assistance. Part of the issue with planning is how are we going to navigate those years? So tell us talk to us a little bit about the reality that if you have a family or a loved one in your home who is no longer independent and you know you need to get involved with them, what do you do?
Well, probably the first question you kind of need to ask yourself is, what do they need? You know, what's their condition? What's their situation? What do they need? And then how are they going to need some help? How much is it going to cost, whether it's going to be family or whether it's going to be someone else helping? And then, is the home set up appropriately to be able to care for them? And so, as you work through, especially as we were talking about the care plan there previously, one of the things we always have to address once we decide, okay, we're going to do an exercise here to figure out what exactly we need, but also how are you going to pay for it? Is it coming out of the savings? Is there long-term care insurance involved? Maybe you chose to do a reverse mortgage, or you got VA benefits, or if the family is just going to take care of things. And one of the most critical things to consider is the home. If you know you're in that home that you want to live in and grow old in, and this is where you want to be for the rest of your life, great. But is it ready for you to get older in that home? And things people need to address when they think about those things is it safe? How wide are the door jambs? If my mobility was limited and I had to use a walker or even a wheelchair, are the doors appropriate? Or is there a stand-up shower? Or is there I'm not a stand-up shower, a bathtub that you can enter into, you can walk into? Do you have something like that? And then, little things like rugs and little edging as you walk up and down steps, or back and forth between areas where there's a difference in the the level of the flooring. Just little things like that. Are you in the right house but the wrong location? Perfect house, but it's not near your friends or your family, or any of the amenities you need, or the grocery store or anything like that. So those kind of things all go into having a plan. And as you have a plan, this I know we're going to get into this in maybe the next session, but we got this checklist that the folks from AARP have given to us here, and it's a great checklist with 5 questions to ask, and they break it down into lots of detail for you.
Yeah, and I think the checklist, the first thing the checklist asks for is determine what you might need by way of help. It sounds like a simple thing, right? I mean, you know where the person is, you know what kind of help you will need. But in practical reality, it's a little bit more challenging. So expand on that a little bit. What is a good way for people to really get their hands on what sorts of help, what kind of help should I be looking for?
Well, the first thing they want to sit there and think about is, okay, what's the situation? Everybody's situation is a bit different. So, and is that going to mean that you're going to have family taking care of you, or maybe you're involved with a church that has some assets and resources it helps with, or are you going to come to a home care company like me to provide home caregivers to help with that person's needs?
So again, when you break it down and say, okay, well, we got all these resources, family is the first one we gravitate to, and truth be told, majority of us rely on family. Families provide more free caregiving than is provided by paid caregivers or even volunteer caregivers through churches and stuff like that. So families do shoulder the lion's share of it. And when you look at the caregiving that will need to be done, it'll fall in 4 categories, right? The first thing is someone's got to take care of the person, get them out of bed and cook for them, do medication management, all that sort of stuff, them individually. The second is the environment that they live in. So keep the house clean, etc. The third is going to be doing out-of-office type of things, out-of-the-home type of things, take them to the doctors and stuff like that. And the fourth is going to be dealing with all the financial issues, pay bills and make sure that the caregivers are paid, make sure that the money is managed properly, make sure that all money type of issues are all taken care of. So these are the 4 categories of things that you're going to need to deal with. So talk to us about this. When people talk about caregiving and they're saying that I need to hire a 24/7 caregiver, let's say there's a family that's willing to say, I want to be able to help my loved one, but there's a limit to how much I can do. What I don't want to do is to become a 24-hour caregiver to do everything, because I don't know what that'll be. So in your experience, Joe, what are the sorts of things that families should consider maybe offshoring to caregiving agencies like yours?
Okay. I'm going to give them 5 questions to ask themselves right off the top. And that's, what kind of care do you need? How often are you going to need help? How much do you want to spend? What's your budget for the care? And then what's your comfort level of having someone in the home? What I mean by that is, having a stranger coming into your home, how often, how are you with that? And then the other thing is, when you select a company like me to come help, how are the caregivers vetted? Or do the caregivers have background checks, and how are they trained, and how is the care plan exercised? And, what are the checks, the quality control checks and so on and so forth. And so, I always ask folks that, when they sit down, they think through, what kind of care do they need? It always comes down into, there's a couple, three things they need right off the top. And it's either going to be companion care, personal care, or transportation, or all of the above. And, companion care is things that are kind of simple. It's things like meal planning and preparation, or home safety supervision, doing laundry, housekeeping, maybe just, setting with that person so that a family caregiver can, have some respite and go out and take care of their business or their appointments or whatnot. And then when it comes to personal care, that's a bit more complicated. That's when someone's begun to, have issues with their activities of daily living, and they may need help bathing, dressing. They may need help with their medication reminders or toileting assistance or issues with incontinence, things like that. And there's always transportation in there. And that's the things that, first and foremost you need to think through is, what level of care do you need and how often do you need it and how much you're willing to spend for it. First big three questions to ask.
Got it. And when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. I tell you, the big question that everyone always wants to talk about is, well, what does it cost and where will the money come from? So maybe when we come back, Joe, we'll touch a little bit about that.
Yeah, and the big phone number you want to know, because I know you got questions like how in the world are you going to take care of yourself if you got to do something like all that Joe just described for the loved one here. Call your questions right now. These guys love questions, and they got some answers and some ideas to share. 206-421-1000. Again, here for Aging Options, 206-421-1000. Traffic and weather along the way every 10 minutes on the fours. Then we're back at Aging Options. Hang on here. Let's get to John Nelson with a quick update again here. High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
Yeah, in the Federal Way area, we have a collision partially blocking the right lane, southbound I-5 at 272nd Street. We have ongoing construction northbound I-5 between the Boeing Access Road and the Michigan Curve. Strawberry Festival going on, Vashon Island. Lots of stuff going on there, and they brought in some extra ferries to help you get there. I'm John Nelson, Northwest News Radio Traffic.
Nice and sunny weather again here, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. Latest forecast showing highs today in Seattle about 85. Cooler, low 80s up north. Hotter to the south here, 90s. And then we have extreme heat advisory. Eastern Washington, triple digits once you get over to Ellensburg and going east. Keep that in mind. Current temperature right now in Seattle, we are at 68 degrees here at Northwest News Radio. Aging Options continues. Fast road to travel there in all the years gone by, and now it's time to plan about retirement. And today, loving through caregiving, creating a care plan, maybe home care checklist. What a time to call in with your questions here for Rajiv Nagaich, and also a guest here. Always fun to bring him around, Joe Hillier of Home Watch Caregivers. Rajiv, Joe, looks like we're getting calls too.
So let's, before we take the call, let's go ahead and go to the money question, because you said that, one of the questions you ask is, what is your budget? That's where the rub lies, right? That what do I know what the budget is? What is the cost going to be? The budget is not going to dictate as to how much help, or is it really? How do you go over that stuff? Because as a consumer, if my mom and dad need help, I just need to go ahead and have you come into the house and say, this is what I need help with. Can you come and take care of what needs to be taken care of, and what will the cost be? So how do people answer the question, what is your budget?
Well, the one thing I want to remind folks first and foremost is here in the state of Washington, we have the highest cost per person of health insurance in the U.S., and we have the second highest cost of care for seniors. So you're in an environment where things are costly, and our home care aides, our CNAs, our healthcare folks in general, it's a limited workforce out there. So having said that, that's why it drives up our prices. So when we sit down and talk with someone, the first thing we go through is, again, what do you need? How often do you need it? And then how much, what's your price range on this? What's your budget? And we have a lot of different options. And normally things break down into companion care, personal care, transportation. But as things have changed in this industry now, we now have some things we can do with active care and wellness care, things where to try and save folks money up front, we can do things with virtual care, or things with bringing technology into the home before you have to spend a lot of time with a caregiver, or to supplement that family caregiver and give them some of their time back, and so that they can take care, do other things that they need to do to take care of their loved one. And then when we get into companion care, personal care, one thing I want folks to understand is the average cost of this across all the United States now for care when someone becomes part of that 70% that need it after the age of 65, it's going to be around $5,000, $5,100 a month, and that's an incredible cost. So they need to understand is, okay, what are they getting, how often do they need it, and so on and so forth. And reaching out to the right company to do that sort of thing, someone like Home Watch Caregivers, you want to make sure you're dealing with someone that's got a lot of experience, and their folks have a lot of training, and they have a lot of experience, many years of taking care of folks. We've done this for 44 years,
right.
And every one of our caregivers goes through state level and national level criminal background checks, and you have somebody that you can trust to come into your home that's going to keep you safe and take care of you.
So let's talk about the how we are going to pay for this, but right after we talk to Diane. Diane, you're on the air. What's in your mind? Diane, you're on the air. What's in your mind, dear?
Hello?
Hi, Diane. You're on the air. I think you've got the radio on. If you shut the radio, I think we'll be good.
Just a second here. I'm going to pull over. I'm on the... my name is Jan. I don't know. Are you there?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
My situation is exactly what you were just saying. I'm driving and I'm listening and I'm thinking, oh my God, because I'm losing sleep. I just had a meeting on Wednesday. I do not know how I'm going to pay for this, what's happened to me with my husband's Parkinson's disease spiraling out of control, and I am no longer able to care for him. It's too much for one person. And so I put him into a very expensive assisted living on the memory care floor, and it's $18,000 for him to be a permanent resident there, $11,000 a month. And you said $5,000. I'm thinking, well, I wish it was $5,000. So, yeah, how am I going to pay for this? Where is it going to come from? The 401k, yes, there's money in there. We haven't tapped into it. We didn't plan for this. Although he's had Parkinson's for 15 years, probably should have figured that one out. What's the long-term care for this? And I thought we were going to age in place. I set it up. He was downstairs in the office. We turned into a bedroom, and it had the bathroom was accessible right there. But then he had a psychiatric break, and now he's in memory care.
Okay. So hold on to that thought, Diane. We're going to come right back. Please don't take off on the road. We'll come back and we'll give you a direct answer to your question. You will want to listen to this answer.
Aging Options will continue. A quick news break here at Northwest News Radio. The time right now, 9:30.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Airlines still recovering from yesterday's global IT outage. CrowdStrike says a faulty software disruption to tens of thousands of businesses is to blame. ABC News contributor and former DHS Assistant Secretary Elizabeth Newman on the glitch.
We're very independent. We're really heavily reliant on our infrastructure, internet and communications technology. And I don't know that no fail is actually a realistic option. I think what we do need to work towards as a goal is resilience. And we need to make sure we have backup systems in place, backup plans, so that if our primary systems don't work, we have something we can turn to.
More than 36 congressional lawmakers now publicly calling for President Biden to step aside as the nominee. He's recovering from COVID, but signaled he'll be back on the campaign trail next week. Donald Trump and running mate J.D. Vance are in Michigan today, holding their first joint rally together since the Republican National Convention. This is ABC News.
The News Watch never stops. News Radio 97.7 FM and AM 1000.
The Northwest's only all-news station.
9:31 here in Seattle. I'm Mark Christopher. We'll get right back to Aging Options and more of Diane's question to share here with Joe Hillier and Rajiv Nagaich. I'm checking some local headlines here for you. I'm Mark Christopher. More and more boats expected out in the waters of Puget Sound here, and a worry for Washington State ferry captains concerned of some of the boats who try to cross a ferry's path. Some saying they've had a few close calls in recent days with this nice hot weather we're all seeing.
Please do not cut right in front of the ferry, because then it gets into who's going to do what. Just give us plenty of room.
Just so you know, a ferry takes 90 seconds to come to a complete stop. If you do attempt to cross the bow of a ferry here en route, you will hear 5 short blasts. That's the captain trying to get your attention, that is, to change your course. You are en route for a potential collision otherwise with a Washington State ferry. they have the right of way. Remember, boater's card required, 15 horsepower or more for vessel. You need to have one just to prove the fact you've had some training and boating courses to explore and know what's going on, especially out on the Sound as well as some of the lakes as well. 33-year-old man arrested for a vehicular assault following a collision. This is what slowed down traffic on the West Seattle Bridge early Friday morning. The incident occurred around 3:30. Seattle police saying they've received reports of an injury collision there on the bridge near that First Avenue South exit. Seattle Fire Department treated a 33-year-old driver and a 25-year-old female passenger for injuries. The passenger taken to Harborview in serious condition, non-life-threatening injuries were told. The driver was impaired, they confirmed, with alcohol and was arrested for vehicular assault. He sustained minor injuries. Kent police arresting an 18-year-old man in connection with the fatal shooting of a 13-year-old boy. This occurred earlier in the week. A spokesperson from the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office saying the 18-year-old made his first court appearance yesterday. The court found probable cause for murder in the first degree, attempted murder, and robbery in the first degree. The suspect's bail set at $2 million. The shooting happened on Tuesday night about 9 o'clock at Turnkey Park in Kent, where a 13-year-old boy was killed. According to court documents, the victim was fatally shot during an attempted armed robbery. The victim and friends were there at Turnkey Park to sell a camera where they were all held at gunpoint before that shooting ensued. Check it on sports. Busy time at the stadiums today. We got soccer tonight with the Sounders and Los Angeles. Meanwhile, we got the Mariners and the Expos having some fun post All-Stars, so keep in mind as it's getting busy. And with that, we have traffic and weather for you. Every 10 minutes on the 4s. John Nelson now looking at the roads in the High Performance Homes Traffic Center. John?
Yeah, lots of events going on throughout the greater Seattle-Tacoma area. We have some road work northbound I-5 between the Boeing Access Road and Michigan. That's got the roadway reduced to 2 lanes, so it's already causing some congestion. Watch out for a collision northbound I-5 right around City Center in Tacoma. We have the right lane block of the collision southbound I-5, 272nd Street. That's in the Federal Way area. Capitol Hill block party going on in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood. We have the Vashon Strawberry Festival going on, live music, all kinds of stuff going on there, and they've added some ferries to help you get there. I'm John Nelson, Northwest News Radio Traffic.
And the weather forecast today sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. Highs expected of 85, 81 tomorrow. Clouds in the morning, cool enough in the foothills, maybe a light shower. I'm Mark Christopher. This is Northwest News Radio. One of these days, that will just be a fun song to hear on radio. A note reminder, Monday morning. What do you have planned? What nightmares? What deadlines here? Yep, it's all about retirement. So what better than to plan retirement and have some ways of getting there and being totally calm where you sleep better at night? Who better to help out than this program, Aging Options, your host, Rajiv Nagaich, as he continues with Joe Hilliard of Home Watch Caregivers. And we've got Diane standing by with some questions in a situation she's involved with. Rajiv.
And actually, let's go directly to Diane. Diane, so you've got your husband who is in a memory care place at this point in time, had Parkinson's, been dealing with it for 15 years. You knew you need to do something about it. For some reason, you didn't get to it. And today you're at the point where you are spending how much money a month?
He was in respite for the last 30 days, but continue. It's $11,000 a month with his care level. And it's everything. He needs help, with everything. He can't even stand up by himself now. So I am in a little bit of a shock about the cost. I didn't know how much it would cost.
Right.
He's in a really great, he's in a great facility. It's a beautiful facility, but it's very expensive.
Right, and there's only so long you'll be able to do it, and we don't know how long. Do we have a sense of what the prognosis is as to how long your husband is going to be dealing with this issue, or do you have some sense?
The longevity, I would say he's in stage 5 Parkinson's, moving into it quickly, and it isn't just the physical, but the mental. The Lewy body dementia, when he was in the hospital, that's what the psychiatrist feels he has. So I don't know and he just saw his Parkinson's doctor yesterday, but I don't know what the longevity is. I don't know how long someone can live with that. And he still has moments of lucidity starting to come out of his psychotic episode a little bit yesterday. But it's the shock of, first of all, him being gone. I didn't know it was going to happen so fast.
Right.
And I also didn't plan for it. So what do? I have a 401k. The things we didn't do was, while we were in the lower tax bracket, pull money out of his 401k, roll it into a Roth IRA, pay the taxes at a lower tax bracket. Yeah. We didn't do that. So now I have to figure out what do I liquidate to pay for this care? And we have no credit card debt. I don't want to put it on our credit card. We have the money in the 401k to pay it, but you're right. How long will he be there? And at what point do I move him to a place where this facility he's still able to go down to assisted living and participate a little bit? Somebody has to push him in a wheelchair, but he has a good sense of humor, but has delusions.
Got it. Okay, so let me give you a real quick answer, and I think the better answer will be I'll have you get a hold of somebody to pull it all together. So that even though at the gut level you are now recognizing that, financially I need to be really aware of the whole thing, otherwise this could come crashing down. The whole house of cards could come crashing down. The question you really should be asking is not what you're asking. Money is important. There's no doubt about it. But what you really mean to be saying somewhere in your heart when you're sleeping, when you're thinking to yourself, here's what you're saying. How do I take care of my husband so he can live as good a quality of life as possible under the conditions without us running out of money and without me losing my sanity in the process? You are reacting right now, right? Over the years, you've known he had Parkinson's. You were kind of going along with it and just, hoping that it's going to somehow turn out to be okay. And that didn't turn out to be quite the way that it turned out because Lewy body dementia, other things, and he ends up in a care facility. His quality of life is all about housing. The first thing that I do typically when I'm dealing with these cases is I'll call Joe Hillier and say, go please do a assessment of this person. Where's the person now? Where likely will they be 6 months from today, a year from today? And what kind of care will they need? And where can that care best be accessed so your husband doesn't have to move again and again and again? That's the first question. Right. Second question is, how do we not go broke? And understand, even though you have not done the planning ahead of time, at the last minute, we can do a measure of Medicaid planning. In our system, health insurance does not cover long-term care needs, but where people make the big mistake is thinking, well, if Medicare is not going to do it, I can spend all the money down because Medicaid says we will only help you when you spent all the money down to $2,000. The real answer to Medicaid is your husband can only have $2,000. We can transfer the money out of his name, put it in your name, and that's where the tax rub is going to come in. And there are some options good elder law attorneys will be able to give you where we can transfer the money out of your husband's name, put it in your name, get Medicaid to cover some, if not all, of the care costs beyond a certain time. Medicaid basically says when you're moving money out of your name from one person to another, you have to wait 5 years before you get Medicaid unless the movement is happening between a husband and a wife. So here I would say get a hold of a guy called Aaron Haker of Life Point Law. He's an associate. He's actually a partner in the firm, and he does this planning. So he'll be able to help you with the money issue. And then the third thing that you have to worry about is how do you not lose your sanity in the process? Here's the big mistake. The other mistake that I see making up in America is you're internalizing that you have to do it all. You've got to become the superwoman who has to figure everything out. And my answer to you is you don't need to figure everything out. You just need to know where to find the help so that you can pull a plan together and only take that much of this piece that you can humanly and easily able to handle yourself. Right? So who do you start with? Start with a care manager, pull together an elder law attorney, and start with a housing specialist, somebody who can take a look at the rest of your husband's life and make sure that we are looking at a place where they will eventually accept Medicaid and that your husband will not have to move as his conditions increase. If you pull all those three pieces together, you've got the answer that you're looking for. I promise you the answer is there if you know where to look for it. Joe, do you want to add anything to that?
No, those are all really good points. And I have been speaking to several people, just researching, and there are lots of really good organizations out there to help. I I'm just starting this, search to find. Right.
And Diane, let me say this to you. The reason why I do what I do is I came from India and I saw my father-in-law in a nursing home. I was not a lawyer at that time. I didn't come to America to be a lawyer. And I could not believe, and we had all this, the same thing you're going through. You go to 10 people, you get 10 different answers. So when I started my law firm, I basically had a very clear objective. How can we, in the richest country in the world, deal with the reality that 70% of us will not be able to live out our lives in our own home, despite the fact we do a lot of planning all throughout our lives. So you can listen to a lot of people, or you can go to somebody who can pull it all together for you. And I would say don't wait too long. Go to LifePoint Law, talk to a guy called Aaron Paker. Let him put it together for you, and he'll give you the answer. And bring your children along in the ride, because aging is a family affair. You are going to need your family support. Everyone needs to be together.
Yeah,
okay?
I agree.
Okay. All right, dear. So here, let me give you a phone number for LifePoint Law. It's 253-838-3454. That's 253-838-3454. Aaron Paker at LifePoint Law. Thanks so much, Joe. When we come back, I want your reaction to this answer when we come back after this break.
Yeah, and again, people, if you didn't have time to write down that phone number here, lifepointlaw.com. Everything you're hearing about, discussion here, is found on the blog with the stories we're covering, information about some workshops you're about to hear coming up to plan better retirement. Again, the website where you can find the phone number too, lifepointlaw.com. Hang right with us. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to Aging Options on News Radio 97.7 FM and AM 1000. For more great articles to help guide your future, go to AgingOptions.com. That's AgingOptions.com and select blogs under the Free Learning Center tab. AgingOptions.com.
That's 2 strikes, so this is going to be a close one. The game depends on this next pitch.
You know, if you're retired, you're playing a retirement game with 2 strikes. Strike 1 is when you retire and give up your paycheck. Studies show that strike 2 is the inflation that has taken a bite out of that fixed income that retirees like you are living with. Strike 3 could be an illness for which there is no coverage under Medicare unless you have a safe harbor trust. Hi, it's Mark Christopher. If you have a safe harbor trust, you will hit the home run. If not, you likely will strike out. Don't stand on home plate without a safe harbor trust. Crafted by attorney Rajiv Nagaich with LifePoint Law. Join Rajiv at his next free workshop August 1st in Bellevue, August 3rd in Federal Way, or how about August 6th in Puyallup? Register for Rajiv's free in-person workshops at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com. Or call 253-838-3454. 253-838-3454. More of Aging Options just ahead. Along the way, we've got traffic and weather to check with so much going on. John Nelson looking at the notes he's got here to share. High Performance Homes Traffic Center. John?
Yeah, the good news is no real big problems, at least new problems to slow you down. We do have a collision getting cleared out of the way northbound I-5, City Center in Tacoma. In Federal Way, we have an accident getting cleared out of the way. This is on southbound I-5, 272nd Street. Big construction project. It has I-5 reduced to 2 lanes from the Boeing Access Road to the Michigan Curve. Lots of events going on throughout the greater Seattle-Tacoma area. In fact, they've added a second ferry, or a third ferry, rather, to help people going to the Strawberry Festival. I'm John Nelson, Northwest News Radio Traffic.
Otherwise, a good day for a drive. You're going to have a lot of people around with all the events going on. Be careful here. Forecast sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. We're back into mid-80s for Seattle today, even closer to 90 in the South Sound. It'll be low 80s up to the north. Foothills could see some clouds, some light rain in the morning, or a shower or two, maybe drizzle at least. Otherwise, a nice day planned for tomorrow. Extreme heat advisory east of the mountains. Triple digits planned again for today. One of these days, the only business is what are you going to do for fun on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Never have to worry about those days again. When it comes to work, it'll be all play, but always better when you have a plan and know what's going on. Diane had a great question. If you called in here just moments ago here, Diane's listening to the radio. Rajiv, Joe, anxious to hear more, she says, as she drives, and feels confident and comfortable now that she's made a phone call to the show.
And you know, Diane is just one of the 15 to 20 million people in America today who's dealing with this issue. So I know you're out there also. Joe, I'm going to bring you back into this conversation. Do you have I know you wanted to say something and we just couldn't get to it. So can you share your thoughts?
Well, I got to say, Diane is the perfect example of why folks need to have a plan for their care, a plan for how they want to age as they get older. they didn't see it coming, and Parkinson hit them, and they had a bit of time they could have reacted, and I'm not sure exactly what their personal situation was to get everything in order, but they were continually in the reactive mode rather than be proactive and understanding. And when I say proactive, understand most of us, 70% of us, because modern medicine, we live longer, 70% of us are going to live long enough to the point where we're going to need help with taking care of ourselves as we get older. And we're not going to live this long, wonderful life and one day just, keel over and we're gone and not be a burden on anyone or anything, or, have issues challenges we have to deal with. We need to have a plan. And Diane was the perfect example of, what that should look like in our 50s and 60s, especially if we know that, none of us know we're going to get Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, dementia, but if we know there's a family history, there's a good probability that something like that may be visited upon us. So have a plan.
So Joe, talk to me a little bit. Tell our listeners, let's say Diane was to call you and say, help me build that plan and help me take a look at what lies ahead for me. In your industry, how do you help people like Diane get a handle on what's about to come?
Well, I love it when folks like Diane calls us because we have time. We have time to sit down and go, okay, so things are going to look like this as you go from this year to the next year, the following year, so on and so forth. And we can help them chart out, okay, here's where family's going to help, and here's where you're going to need a little bit of assistance. Maybe there's things where we can save you a bunch of money up front by bringing in some technology into the home and helping with that, where you don't necessarily have to have a caregiver all the time, where you can use technology and save a ton of money up front on that. But when you do get the time point where you have to have a caregiver, how are we going to balance that between what you're capable of, the care you're capable of giving your husband, and then what we need to be doing for you? Because God bless you can be that caregiver for him is, every day, 24/7, but that's going to wear you down. It's going to wear you out. You're going to need some respite care. You got to have time to take care of yourself. Where's that point where you want to, step back and let a caregiver do the hard work for you so you can spend quality time with your husband?
So I think one of the things that I want to point out, Joe, is that, when people find a caregiving place, community like Diane did for her husband, and then once you go in there, then you find out it's about $11,000, $12,000 a month, and there was a number of $18,000 that got thrown around. So it is going to be expensive. But will this place accept Medicaid? That question should be asked before we place somebody there, because once you have gone there, quality of life, moving somebody is a hard thing to do. So can you help people like Diane go in there, do an assessment of where her husband is, and then see whether this place will accept Medicaid? What are the rules around that? So we can actually then start doing the financial planning around how are we going to sustain these costs that are going to keep coming. And if this place is not going to be the right one, can you help people like Diane find, or at least identify, places that she should be looking at that eventually will accept Medicaid?
We can always help with that. We have a long list of organizations and places like that we deal with, and we know who's who in the zoo out there, and who does a good job, who doesn't, who accepts what, who doesn't, and we can always help with that sort of thing.
And how do people like her get a hold of you if they want either that, or if they just want to go ahead and hire you to get some help coming down to the house? How do they get a hold of you?
Even if they're thinking about care or need help, always give me a call, 253-564-1006.
And they repeat that number again, 253-564-1006. 253-564-1006. That's Joe Hillier of Home Watch Caregivers. And Joe, I want to go back to one question that you had. And by the way, if you are on sidelines like Diane, or you're dealing with a loved one, give us a call. We can certainly talk. And particularly when Joe is here, he can give you a much better answer. You can hear the answer directly from the horse's mouth. Joe, I want to go back to the money issue a little bit, because look, the money issue is a real issue. And the way that as an elder law attorney that I'm helping clients deal with this money issue is this. I ask them to go, find out what the cost will be in the utopian world. If you could have whatever care that you need, what will that care cost you? Once they give me that care, then we take a look at the personal assets. Do you have a long-term care insurance policy? If you don't have a long-term care insurance policy, what is the amount of money you have? Do you have a large enough sum of money where you can make this money happen? If you don't have that, can we look at a reverse mortgage to open up some money? And if nothing works, then can we look at Medicaid? And then between the VA, the Medicaid, the long-term care, the reverse mortgage, now we have a plan of how we are going to make the money thing happen. So when people think about money, it's not just about your income or the money that's sitting in the bank. There are all sorts of other resources, other ways to take a look at it. Long-term care insurance certainly is a godsend in these situations. So when you talked about that, I asked people for the budget. I counsel my clients a little differently and say, get the cost, and then we can work how much of that care can we end up affording. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So with that, when we come back, we'll talk to Joe Hillier a little bit more about the home care side of things, and we'll take a break, and we'll be back after the short break.
Okay, everything we're hearing and listening to here with Aging Options, you can hear and read more at lifepointlaw.com. Click on the blog there. Click on events. You'll hear about the dates that have been set up, August 1st, August 3rd, August 6th here as Rajiv gets out here with, we'll call it neighborhood retirement plans for you to join him with other people here. They're free. They're 90 minutes. Bring a friend. Again, information about those workshops. Go to lifepointlaw.com. Click on events. Hang on. Traffic and weather real quick. I'm back with more of Rajiv Nagaich and Joe Hillier here on Aging Options. We've got John Nelson with a look at traffic in the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
You have a collision getting cleared out of the way northbound I-5 City Center in Tacoma. In Federal Way, the right lane blocked with the collisions in process of getting moved out of the way. I-5 southbound to 72nd Street. I'm John Nelson, Northwest News Radio Traffic.
And the forecast today is sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. Get out and go for some fun here. Just don't forget the sunblock. It's going to get hot here. We've got temperatures in the Central Sound at 85, hotter, closer to 90 in the South Sound, cooler up north there, low 80s. And Eastern Washington, again, the excessive heat advisory in effect. Triple digits can be expected. Just about 70 right now here at Northwest News Radio. So I just toss it right back to Rajiv and Joe here as Aging Options continues. Rajiv.
And here we go, Joe. You know, one of the realities is majority of people want to be able to access care at home. That's where we need to be planning around. So in the closing minutes that we have up here, what is the one thing you would want people to do so they can be assured that in future they never have to face the day that the moving to a care facility is their only answer? What's the one thing you would want them to do?
The one thing I want them to do is when they have questions, call me. There's no dumb questions in all this. And these questions come up not necessarily between 9 and 5, but sometimes in the evenings and, and stuff. And when you're thinking about this and trying to figure it out, knowing that, or thinking ahead that, okay, I may need some help one of these days, call me. Call me so I can help you get started in figuring this out. So when the time comes, you've got a proactive plan that is everything's laid in place so that when you need what you need, it's there for you.
And the phone number to call is
253-564-1006. Tell folks whoever answers that you heard me on the radio and ask for Joe.
That's 253-564-1006. Joe, thanks as always. I mean, you're such a great stalwart supporter of the work that we end up doing, helping people age with the certainty and a plan that when they fall ill, they don't have to be put into a care facility. But sadly, that is done several years before you're going to end up falling ill. So thanks as always, taking time on a Saturday to be with us. Hopefully you'll be back here pretty soon.
Always here to help. Thanks for having me today, Rajiv, and thank you to all your listeners out there.
Hey, you bet. Thanks so much. And to the rest of you, I'll remind you, Aging Options got all these stories that we have put on there. And there's a real interesting story that we didn't get to. It is less waiting, longer visits. Is concierge medicine right for you? And that's a great article you need to take a look at. I think we are so fed up with the medical system that makes us wait till January of 2025 to get a appointment with a primary care physician. Doctors are fed up. They want to really serve you directly. And here's a new model that is emerging. Is this for you or not? Go to AgingOptions.com. Take a look at the blog. That's a great story. And maybe you can make a decision for yourself. Is there a different way you should be approaching medical care?
Good job today,
Mark.
That was great to have Joe on in timing to get Diane there, who actually was driving, pulled off. to spend time to share her story. And again, there's no script to this, Rajiv. These are real people with challenges in retirement. Thank goodness we have this show every Saturday 9 to 10 here to help out. And again, lifepointlaw.com is the website. Final words, my friend, here. What a great show with you and Joe.
Hey, had a lot of fun. Age on, everyone. We'll talk to you next week. Same time, same place.
The preceding program was paid for by LifePoint Law and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Radio management or staff.